Have you figured out your niche? Are you helping adding value to other people's lives? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi.
Greetings from Chicagoland. This is Munira, the Niche Navigator, coming to you live on Munira's Musings. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Munira's Musings, where we cause awareness to people who are changing other people's lives. In our today's edition, we have Genika Reed. Thank you, Genika, for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You are most welcome. So, this show is a show that helps other people figure out what message they have to share, what if they have taken a step, a step forward in life to create a niche for themselves. Then we talk about that. But we are not there today because this is a completely and a very interesting show. Genika, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, of course. My name is Genika Reed, and I am from Fort Worth, Texas, and I am married with 2 children and 1 grandson.
Awesome. Fort Worth, Texas. It's hot there.
Yes, it's warming up.
It's warming up. So spring is in the air, ladies and gentlemen. In about 2 weeks, we should have Easter.
Yes.
Genika, you have written a book. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so from the reason behind my book is that as I was going through my journey back in 2014, I felt as if I was alone in my pain. And I started seeing doctors to diagnose my pain because I was having horrible pelvic pains before. So back in 2014, I had a partial hysterectomy to remove fibroids. And that started my journey of having pelvic chronic pains during my menstrual cycles. Well, supposedly during my menstrual cycles at the same time as my menstrual cycles before my partial hysterectomy. So I had the fibroids removed, and I started going to my primary doctor, who then diagnosed me as having, she said that she didn't know what it was, so she sent me to a specialist, which I started having chronic constipation. She diagnosed it as chronic constipation. So that was the reason that I started on my journey of I started my journal of, I'm sorry, I'm just all over the place this morning. In order to keep up with my symptoms, I started keeping track of my appointments, the symptoms I was having, and my pains in my journal that I just purchased from Dollar Tree. I just purchased that journal just to write everything that was going on with my body. And so my primary doctor sent me over to a specialist, which then misdiagnosed me as having chronic constipation. That started my journey of writing down all of my appointments.
Okay, so first you had fibroids.
Right, I had fibroids.
They did a hysterectomy to remove the fibroids.
A partial hysterectomy, yes.
So that did not ease your pain.
No, that didn't ease my pains. I was fine after that. It's approximately about 2 years later is when I started having the chronic pelvic pains. And that's when my primary doctor referred me to a specialist. And that specialist then misdiagnosed me as having chronic constipation. So from there—
When you say misdiagnosed you, right?
Yes.
That means that, of course, the diagnosis that he came up with was wrong.
Correct.
So from the time he diagnosed you, the misdiagnosis that happened, and to the time that they figured out what was wrong, what was happening?
What was happening there is I was going to different specialists that wasn't actually listening to me or what I was saying, what was wrong, which was the the pelvic pains. I didn't have any heavy bleeding because of course I had a partial hysterectomy, so they removed my uterus then. So when I was going to the specialist, she kept trying to medicate the chronic constipation. I thought it was hemorrhoids because me and my husband traveled a long time, probably about a 12 to 13 hour drive to Florida at that time. So I was diagnosing myself. But then I went to my primary, that's when she referred me to the specialist. and she was pretty much diagnosing as chronic constipation. So she was treating, and as such, was giving me all different kind of medication that weren't working, and we were running different tests, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. So during that time, that 2-year period, I was feeling fine up until 2016. That's when I was misdiagnosed, and then that's when I had to go see my gynecologist, and that's when I found out I had endometriosis.
So between the time of misdiagnosis and seeing the gyno, how long was that?
Between the misdiagnosis and seeing the gynecologist, that was about a 3-month period.
But then did she diagnose it correctly? Did she?
Yes, the gynecologist diagnosed it correctly. She was saying when I had my partial hysterectomy back in 2014, it's when a piece of that endometriosis may have latched onto one of my incisions, because I had the Da Vinci robotic surgery. So it may have latched onto my incision, and they didn't know it at the time that I had endometriosis. So I didn't even know at the time I had endometriosis. So that's when my gynecologist confirmed that it was endometriosis back in 2016.
Okay, so let me go back a little bit. Tell us what endometriosis is, because I know that most people know, but I want to hear it from you.
Right. So endometriosis pretty much is when the lining of the uterus, the lining inside of the uterus, and endometriosis usually lines outside of the uterus, which can latch on to your abdomen, your uterus, your ovaries. It can latch on to anything. So when it starts to line on the outside of the uterus, when during the menstrual cycles can start experiencing pelvic pain, chronic pains, heavy bleeding during their menstrual cycles.
Okay, so were you feeling all of these things, heavy pain? You were in pain, obviously, but were you having heavy bleeding and all of that stuff?
No, the only pain I was experiencing was the pelvic pain. I didn't have any heavy bleedings during my periods, none of that. Only thing I was having was pelvic pain.
So once they diagnose this, what happens then?
Once they diagnosed it, that's when she had to do a sonogram, because she discovered that there was a mass in my pelvic area. So she wanted to do a biopsy to see exactly what that was. And then once she did a biopsy of that, she had to clip a piece of it just to do the biopsy of it. So once she did a piece of it, and the results came back that it was just a mass and it was endometriosis, she realized that it was within my pelvic wall that she couldn't reach she wasn't going to be able to reach just having a normal surgery. So she then referred me to oncologist gynecologist.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I had to go see a gynecologist.
So did you then have to go through chemo treatments?
No, I had to go see an oncologist, and she was just telling me, because the location of the endometriosis, because it was so behind my pelvic wall, I would have to have the surgery of the person that has colon cancer. Even though they did have a test done, I didn't have cancer at all, but I was going to have the surgery of a person that has colon cancer.
So the procedure would require to have the expertise of that person. Okay, yes. Perfect.
Even though they kept confirming I did not have cancer, which was great news, but I did have the surgery of a person that has colon cancer.
So all of this has happened. You've taken care of yourself. The surgery happened. You're all fine. You look wonderful.
Thank you.
So that was a period of 4 years?
No, I'm sorry. That period from 2014 is when I had my partial hysterectomy. So in 2016 is when I was actually diagnosed with endometriosis. And that's when I had to go have a surgery done by the oncologist. That surgery was a 5.5 hour surgery. And they had to remove my, I was going to have a full hysterectomy. I was pretty much told, because that was going to be the only option, because I've already had my children. And because the endometriosis was deep within the pelvic wall, I was going to have a full hysterectomy to remove my ovaries and my uterus. And that's when, I'm sorry, my uterus was already removed in the partial hysterectomy. So they're going to go ahead and remove my ovaries. So during that surgery, they had to remove my ovaries, make an incision vertically on my abdomen, clipped a piece of my vagina, clipped a piece of my colon, and had to put all that back together, and then had to remove the mass and mobilize it from that. So that took 5.5 hours. So you thinking I'm healed, that they removed the endometriosis? No, that only started the beginning of my journey. From that, I'm just going to keep it short because I know we're limited on time. From that surgery, probably within 2 weeks, I had to go in and have another surgery because I had a hole in my colon.
And this was caused because of what they did?
That was caused because of that surgery.
Oh, okay. Then what happens?
So that from that surgery, 2 weeks later, I had to go back in because I developed what they called a fistula, which was a hole between. Can I get graphic on here, or do I need to watch what I'm saying? Because I don't want to.
No, go ahead.
Okay, because I developed a hole, which was causing feces to come out of my vagina. So I had a hole between my buttock and my vagina. So yes, which was pretty much called a fistula. So I had to go in and have a second surgery where I had to get a ostomy bag. And that's when you have to get your intestine cut, and they have to put a bag on your stomach, and your feces is pretty much coming out this bag. And of course I had to get a catheter as well. So that was my second surgery.
Third now. This is your third. The
first surgery is 2014. So I no longer say that's my first.
Okay, so this is the series, and now this is your second. Then what happens? I mean, oh my God, this is a nightmare.
Yes, it became an entire nightmare. So then from that surgery, I had to get a stent put in my right kidney because I developed fluid around my kidney.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I had to get a stent in my right kidney. My right kidney was enlarged. And then I'm trying to make sure my steps are correct. So then after that, in order to heal from after I had to, because I wore the ostomy bag for at least 6 months. So I had to heal from that. So within 6 months, I had the fistula repaired. So I had the bag, and then I had the stent in my right kidney. And then I had to have the surgery to get a muscle removed from my left inner thigh in order to build a wall between my vagina and my buttock area to prevent any feces from coming through my vagina. And so I had that surgery to remove a muscle from my inner thigh. That took 2.5 hours after that. And so that was the fourth surgery, I believe. I'm on my fourth. So the final surgery was to get the bag removed and, of course, repair my leg and get the catheter removed as well. So all of that within, I would say, 5 surgeries from endometriosis. I'm pretty much here today to just say that, I survived. I call myself the endo warrior because I've been through all that. To tell my story and share with others as well.
So are you like a 1 in a million case, or is that what the doctors tell you?
Yes, they said what I was going through was very rare. So I was one of those unlucky ones, pretty much.
Is this something that your body was fighting, or, I mean, how does this even happen, right?
Well, endometriosis can start within even young girls as 9 years old, as soon as they start their menstrual cycle. It's a lot of women that are going through this and they don't know that they have the endometriosis. They don't know that they have it. And some of those are experiencing symptoms that's saying that they are just normal, because doctors, it's hard for doctors to diagnose it because they don't know exactly what it is.
I get it. I totally get it. So when you wrote the book, you wrote it as your journey, right?
Yes, I wrote my journey starting back from 2014 up until now.
When you were saying that I want women to be aware, right? How do they know what's going on with them? I mean, do they, when they have pelvic pain, do they just go and tell the doctor, hey, you need to check for endometriosis? Do I have to?
I always advise people when they having symptoms, I ask them, what are your symptoms? If you're having heavy bleeding, menstrual cramps that are not normal, where you can barely walk, get up, go to school, go to work, where you can actually, you're having difficulty mobilizing yourself, when you're having difficulty getting up, you know that your pain is unbearable, that's not normal. Where you're having heavy bleeding, that's not normal. When blood clots are coming out, that's not normal. So I tell people, if you're experiencing those symptoms, I would tell them, go to your doctor, ask them to even test for endometriosis. They can do an ultrasound, a sonogram. There's other things that they can do if you do have endometriosis. You have other options versus just having a hysterectomy or something along those lines, because people do deal with infertility when it comes to endometriosis. Then I tell people, if the doctors even say, well, I don't see that you have endometriosis, if you're still feeling uncomfortable with the symptoms and the answers that you're getting from your doctors, seek other doctors, get second opinions. Ask people, you know, keep asking questions until you're comfortable with yourself and the answers that you're getting from your doctors. I always tell people, go get second opinions. It's never okay to just deal with something. Everything is not considered normal.
You know, the reason I smile is because I went through a similar thing with my husband, right? And what started out as a routine, you know, yearly annual checkup, because my birthday is in January, and so Aquarians, right? So I make sure that my appointments are in such a way where my dentist is every 2 months. So it's good to take your birthday month and schedule all of that stuff there, because now you know that this is your well-care checkup.
Right.
And so what started out as a routine triggered as a kidney failure and lots of protein being leaked in this thing. I mean, he was a diabetic, and he was going through a lot of things, and his body was kind of fighting everything that was going on. But it took 9 months for us to see a nephrologist.
Wow.
And then, so 2018 was just diagnostic and finding the physicians. And then once you get there, right, she tells you you're not given a chance to register. And so you want to have a second opinion, but they keep telling you there is no time, and the insurance is, blast. So it gets to a point where you just want to give up.
Right.
So in your case, you didn't give up, and you went.
Exactly.
You advise people that it's your health, it's your body, take care of it, because you only get one chance. But don't you find people who are just frustrated with all of this red tape, if I can call it that, red tape, and then they just say, okay, we'll just do what the doctor says?
Oh yes, of course. I spoke to women who have been frustrated. I've known people that said that they don't get diagnosed at least 8 or 10 years. It takes that long sometimes to get diagnosed. But why give up though? If you don't want to deal with the constant chronic pain, the headaches that people get, it's a lot of symptoms from endometriosis. I would not want to live with the fact that I'm going to be in pain every day. And I thought that after I was mixed diagnosed with chronic constipation, I thought to myself, I'm going to have to live with this pain for the rest of my life because they don't know what it is. And I told myself I had to pray about it. I spoke to my husband. Thank God for my support system of my husband and my children and my family to telling me never to give up and just keep going to the doctors. They're not giving you the answers. Keep seeking the answers. You have to get the answers that you're going to feel comfortable with within yourself. If you know deep in your mind that something is wrong, something is not right, keep getting those answers. You have to keep fighting for your health.
So you were working, you have a
Yes.
job, right? And
Yes.
not like you're an entrepreneur or anything, but you are making aware of all of the people out there in the world that, take care of your health. That's the bottom
Yes.
line. So was that affecting your job schedule?
Oh, no, not at all. My supervisor at the time was very lenient on my time. She knew my health was important. I was even still going to work during all this sometimes. I took off at least probably about a month and a half during that time. But other than that, I was still going to work. I was still fighting to get up. I was still moving. I was still mobilizing. I was still walking around, make sure I was getting everything done at home as well. Oh, yeah, I kept making sure I was in the fight. I was continuing to fight for this and for my health because I knew I had to do something for me and my family.
And I love that message, right? Because many people give up, right? Many
Right.
people. So with my husband also, we went to one nephrologist and we went to another. We took all of these paperwork and then we even found a nephrologist in another country so that they would check things out. And, we were pretty much basically told that he needed a kidney transplant or be on dialysis, and both of them are high risk.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to pick and choose. So which one comes first? And of course, for me and him, we were both in denial, like
Right.
news that we don't want to hear. But still, at a point after looking and seeing and checking with other physicians, sending, records out to others, we were able to decipher and say what she's telling us is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally get it. The reason I bring this up because is that as we age,
Right.
our body starts to groan and moan, right? And we feel it. So we are not the 27-year-olds that we were a few years ago. We are
Right.
now hurting because we've done quite a bit of damage to our body.
Right.
But when we do that, like we've had children, we've climbed trees, I used to play hockey, basketball, and sports and everything. So our body is now groaning and moaning. But if that happens, to the listeners, go ahead and check it out. Don't
Yes.
just gonna go away because it doesn't, especially what's happening inside, right?
Exactly.
And so what else? What's the message that you want to tell you? You've got a book out. You wrote a book out.
Right. Yes. I self-published my book on Amazon because, of course, I was trying to go through publishers and that didn't work out for me. So I decided to just self-publish it through Amazon and making it affordable where people can read. And it's also free on Kindle as well. And I titled my book Scars with an Untold Story because for a moment there, I did feel like, as I said before, I was alone in my journey. I felt like I was the only person in the world that was going through this until I did get online and research for myself what endometriosis is and how does it affect your body and other stories that I wanted to read to make sure, to feel like I wasn't alone. And I did. And so once I'd done that, I decided to put all of that, my information that I journaled for myself into a book in the hopes of keep raising awareness for endometriosis, because right now there is no cure. Right now they just have treatments, hormonal treatments, and some Chinese methods that they're using to treat endometriosis. And I want women to know that it's okay to keep seeking answers. It's okay to keep going to other doctors. It's okay to lean on someone to get a support group. There's support groups on Facebook. There's support groups probably within your community. And it's okay to get that information. It's okay to ask questions, continue to ask questions and not feel alone in your journey because you do have other people that will be there to support you.
So you mentioned Asian medicine. Did you try it?
No, I didn't. I just found this out just recently. There was a lot of information that I didn't have at the time. So it's a lot of information that's out there now for me that I didn't know then. I didn't have a lot of information then. All I had was just Googling on the internet.
No, because the reason I say that, for my husband, we tried acupuncture, right?
Mm-hmm.
We tried a few acupuncture, and then we met a physician out in St. Louis. We went there twice to meet him, and he had given us some concoction.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What it entailed, it had all these Chinese herbs in it.
Right.
And of course, I don't read Chinese, but it had all these herbs in it. And for a while, he was feeling okay, but then once, so with these traditional medicines, we know that it continues.
Right.
You have to keep continually doing that.
Yeah.
And after a while, my husband just got tired because, it was not the very sweetest, or it was just a pill. It was something that you had to drink 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that he meant well and he was a good physician, but then a few months ago, I met another lady who is helping with this stuff with acupuncture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these traditional medicines have been there, but people are afraid to try it.
Right.
So your take on that, would you ask them to check it out for those people who are suffering?
Oh yeah, I would tell people to try every and anything until you get to the point where something is easing your pain. Like for me, when I'm dealing with menopausal symptoms right now, because I had a full hysterectomy, I can't get on any hormonal medicine because there's a greater chance for endometriosis to come back. So I don't want to take that chance. So I decided to take black cohosh because my friend told me about black cohosh. So that's what I'm taking to try to minimize some of my hot flashes, because hot flashes, woo, if anybody has them, they know exactly what I'm talking about. They're the devil. So I take black cohosh and it minimizes some of my hot flashes. It doesn't diminish it at all, but it minimizes some of the flashes that I do get. And I tell people, try anything. If you feel like something is helping, try it. I feel like black cohosh is minimizing my hot flashes. I'm going to continue to take them. So if you feel like something's going to help, take it. Try anything. I would try anything just to get to my comfort level of something that's helping.
There you go. So, your health, ladies and gentlemen, is amazing. It is something that, you own once in a time, but you want to take care of the one body that you have and the one life you have. Exactly. So spiritual and health and wellness, everything blended in together. Yes, we have a job. Yes, we have a family, but there's only one of you and you have to take care of you, right?
Right.
And
yes.
So get Genika's book. She said it's free on Kindle.
Yes, it's free on Kindle, and I believe it's $6.99 on Amazon.
And so she's published a book, and it's her story. Yes. However, she's raising awareness, one, for endometriosis, one, and two, her message is not just because you have pelvic pain doesn't mean that you have endometriosis. You want to go check it out. Go find out what exactly is wrong with you, and let's fix it, because we want to be living life to our fullest, right? So that's the bottom message. Am I missing something?
Oh, no, you're perfectly right on point. And then to add to that, when you're trying different medications or different methods to ease your pains, please get approval by your doctors. You just don't want to keep trying something and it's making a negative reaction with the medication that you're currently on, just to get that out there.
Perfect. So make sure that your doctor is in the loop and take care of yourself, because that's the most amazing thing. I was on a conference this past weekend, and the lady said, health, what's your, let's talk about health. And she didn't talk only about physical health, she talked about business health as well. So for women, because we do so much and we've got our fingers in every pie there is, we need to take time for ourselves, and then there's self-care and self-wellness and everything else. But that's another subject for another day. But how do people contact you, Genika?
Oh, you can contact me on Facebook. I'm on Genika J-Reed. And you can contact me via email, genikareed23@gmail.com. And yes, you can find my Facebook page as well. It's titled Scars with an Untold Story.
There you go. So ladies and gentlemen, please go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to our channel, because your health is wealth. And if you don't have it, then you may have problems, and you want to feel best of the best. So take care, everybody. And thank you, Genika, for being on Munira.
Thank you.
We will
so much.
Next week with another guest and another great message. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi. If you enjoyed our show, please share and subscribe to this channel. And for more content, please join our Facebook group.